Hello, this is Todd Nessa, and I'm going to read today an excerpt from my book, Dreams of a Godly America. And this is dealing a lot with the philosophies that the Germans had, the Nazis had during World War II. And it was on my heart to go ahead and find this to read for you today, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. The chapter in the book is titled, "The End Does Not Justify the Means." Many people are so preoccupied with obtaining an end result that they take every length to justify their actions. Often, this means using whatever means necessary in order to reach a goal. Whenever this type of thinking has infected a large population of the national population, it can put the nation itself on very dangerous ground. The Nazis were so set on achieving the goal of obtaining a master white Aryan race that the idea of extinguishing millions of Jews or others deemed undesirable was no longer a problem. People were seen as less than human unless they fit certain characteristics proudly esteemed by the white Aryan majority in power. In streets, homes, or death camps, people were gunned down in cold blood. The mass genocide did not exclude women and children. Orphan children were gathered together and gunned down. Starvation, gas chambers, and other torture devices were used without repentance to kill mass numbers of people without regret or compassion. The means was justified because of the arrogant desire for domination and so-called racial purity, quote unquote. In reality, the only ones who were impure were themselves because, being the Nazis, because of the evil that was evidenced in their hearts by the fruit of their actions. The cruel and inhumane treatment in the Nazi death camps was largely kept hidden from the German public. The German authorities compartmentalized their activity as much as possible. This was necessary in order for them to sweep their dirty deeds under the rug and prevent possible public outrage that would have threatened their plans. I believe those who promote abortion have either knowingly or unknowingly closely paralleled the principles of action used by the Nazis and other groups who commit or have committed mass genocide to kill millions of people. Need we remind ourselves that the actions of genocide on behalf of the Nazis and other groups which have since promoted and carried out the idea of ethnic cleansing have taken away the lives of innocent men, women, and worse, children. Sadly, though the theme of the Holocaust is, quote, never again, end quote, the evils of ethnic cleansing and mass genocide have occurred many times since. Ethnic cleansing has continued until our modern day and often not received very much notice. We have seen it in Bosnia and Kosovo. In some cases, it has been reported by those having former involvement in previous UN peacekeeping missions in the region that they were ordered to do nothing, in effect, turn their backs, in order to remain, in the words of many of the so-called politically correct, morally neutral. In order to remain morally neutral. Hopefully, this was not the case, but this is me here. It was the case. The lack of interest or notice by much of the media and the lack of protection given by those who had it in their power to act but did nothing should prick a nerve in all of us toward these and other human rights abuses. Public pleas to end such injustices are necessary in order to prevent further acts of genocide from occurring throughout the world. We cannot, nor should not, ever turn our backs. If we have knowledge of genocide occurring and do nothing, then the blood of the victims is on our hands as well. We must be the voices for those who are unable to speak for themselves. It is important that we do not limit or isolate our concept of ethnic cleansing to one incident, style of implementation, such as use of death camps, or people group. Ethnic cleansing should never be allowed to happen to anyone in the human race, Jew and alike, and Gentile alike. It is wrong in any form. It is just as wrong to gather up 100,000 people together inside a city and kill them with machine gun fire as it is to load them up on boxcars and haul them off to a remote camp to be starved to death, shot, or gassed. God hates the shedding of innocent blood in any form. One of the 6 things the Lord hates and finds detestable is recorded in Proverbs 6, chapter 6, verses 16 through 19, are hands that shed innocent blood. However, those not having the fear of God before their eyes, often not only embrace the shedding of innocent blood, but promote it as well. For sure tolerate it. God hates the shedding of innocent blood in any form, as I read already. Next paragraph. What has in part allowed the horrific slaughter of abortion to continue, just as mass genocide was allowed to continue during the Nazi regime, is a preoccupation with a desired end result. Such preoccupation provides a false sense of justification for the merciless killing of the unborn. However, seemingly justifiable in theory, it is grotesque in practice. In the case of abortion, the desired end result is the ability for women to control their own bodies and possess certain reproductive rights, to repeat the often used rhetoric. In all reality, the women in the normal course of events have both. Abortion is not really about controlling one's own body. It is about having control of the decision to terminate a pregnancy inside of their body. However, being able to terminate a pregnancy means that the body of the forming infant who is unable to defend itself is denied of all rights. Reproductive rights is not in reality about reproduction. Instead, it is about the ability for women to end the lives of their own babies through an abortion procedure. This right is destructive as it destroys a human being and has further reach into the future by deleting it. And actually delete the future, what that person would have done, what they would have accomplished, who they would have touched. We will never know what the individual would have become and the positive impact their gifts would have brought society and our country. Teachers in our country often use the phrase, when you touch a child, you touch the future. Abortion destroys that child forming inside of a mother's womb, which should be the securest place of all. The future of that child is not only terminated, but deleted as well. There will always be a void where that person should have been. I am reminded of the old Jimmy Stewart movie, It's a Wonderful Life. In the movie, Jimmy's character gets a first-hand look at what the lives of others would have been like without him. He sees how his life would have been drastically different future without him. He sees how the town that he loved would have fallen under the control of the covetous Mr. Potter. He sees how the people that he served on through his work at the savings and loan would have been a bleak future without him being there to touch their lives. In life, we touch so many others. We will not know this side of heaven what has been lost from the largely worldwide abortion Holocaust. In the pro-abortion argument, a desire to cover over consequences of immoral sexual behavior offers a quick solution to what is perceived to be a problem, as if babies are a problem. The current cultural norm of sexual activity and relationships outside of traditional marriage bonds being normal, traditional marriage bonds being normal must be challenged. As it often occurred to anyone that the conventional wisdom of the day is wrong. After all, Columbus proved that the earth was round when everyone believed it was flat. However, increased tolerance and acceptance has allowed for the spread of sexual lifestyles that are immoral to thousands of American young people. We must judge ourselves as a people on this issue. It appears that the babies have become the collateral damage of a selfish and reckless sexual lifestyle. Often the desired goal is elevated to a higher level of importance than the means used to get us there. Failure to recognize the personhood of the Jewish people was an underlying crime committed by the Nazis. The results or consequences resulting from the stripping of human dignity were horrific. However, it all started with a motivation or attitude that was evil. Denial of personhood is the crime of those who have made the way legally for abortion on demand to be practiced. This can be heard in the original argument of Roe v. Wade, in which it is argued that a baby only has constitutional rights once it is born. Unfortunately, this argument was successful in this case. The consequences of the justice's decision has spanned almost 30 years. That was the time of this writing. Now it's been 40 years. This was first written a decade ago in early 2001, prior to 9/11. And meant the deaths of tens of millions of unborn Americans. Denial of personhood is the underlying foundation providing the highway that promoters and practitioners